hour now.
All right. So, thank you. Hold on, Joy. Where are you coming from?
Me?
Yeah, where are you
I
from?
just got in yesterday from Beijing.
Beijing. Wow. Are you jet lagged, right?
I was only there one night.
Okay. For Beijing jet lag. So, since you just got here, you didn't see a lot of the conference today, and the topic that we'll be talking about is around the topic of design and AI and the mutual influence that they can have each other. But I'm actually starting with a personal question, which is when did design show up in your psyche, and when did AI, when did you become aware of AI as a concept and as a thing?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's hard. Well, first of all, it's interesting because I think AI and design are both what Rominsky would call suitcase words, which are they're almost meaningless because they mean so many things. So I think right now when you say AI, it means everything from very old statistics like regression to super intelligence. And design also, I mean, I think there are over 100 courses at MIT that have the word design in the name. And everybody from mechanical engineers to systems dynamics to product designers to business people all use the word design. So that's, I think, the complicated thing a little bit is what's your definition of either of those two words, and when you add them together it becomes even more complex.
So,
I think. Yeah.
So what is your definition of design?
So I think. Well, so again, I don't have a good definition, but I have what I like to think about when I think about design, which is, and this is from a conversation with Mary Oxman, one of our professors. She drew this circle called the Krebs cycle of creativity, which is kind of based on, and John, you showed it to me first, right? So this is the science, design, and engineering. But design is the thing that takes the utility from engineering and converts it into sort of something of social value. And it's, in a way, I think design is something, engineers create sort of utility, and designers sort of bring something into a social context. I don't know, what do you think?
I don't really, I think design is for rich people.
Right. Yeah, and the reason why I thought this would be an interesting combination to have you and have John on stage together, you've known each other for a long time.
Overlap a little bit.
But you didn't overlap at MIT.
No.
Yeah. Where were you meet? Because I remember I called John when I was thinking about joining the lab.
I don't remember. It's when you were famous, so I was like, cool.
Yeah. So, the career progression and trajectory that you have, there's some overlap. You were currently in academia, and you were in the past in academia.
I know, we switched places. I'm so much happier.
Yeah. So since you, it's really fun. So since you switched places, what's the best thing being in academia? And so he answered the question. I asked the same question to John earlier. Was that he realized that he didn't know a lot when he was in academia, and that's what made him realize, I don't know a lot of things. Yeah, that was what his answer. I'm going to ask you the same question, but what's the most challenging thing of being in academia?
The most challenging thing?
Yeah, and then what question do you have for John?
What question do I have for John? So the first question though is
what's the best thing?
I think the best thing is always having young people around and in sort of large numbers with influence, because I think it's harder to keep bringing fresh young people into the company. So I think that's the most interesting, exciting. I think the most frustrating is when you have a 150-year-old institution, the rules don't meet the needs of the period. So whether we're talking about resources or you're talking about anything, and the rules are just extremely hard to, especially when you come from a place where you didn't have these rules. So rules are the hardest part. And I guess to the question.
So on that point, another point that John made earlier was that John doesn't believe in the education system. He believes in teachers, but not in the education system.
Once in a while, teachers.
Yeah.
Not every teacher. Yeah.
I learned to type in the educational system.
Okay.
That was the one thing that I probably wouldn't have done touch typing I wouldn't have done if I wasn't forced to do that in school. That was probably the most useful thing I learned. And,
In school?
School, yeah. Because
Actually, I think you had a series. I remember reading a story about you learning how to type like 100 words a minute or something.
Yes, I was, my parents had no education, and my mother was a secretary, legal secretary, and she always was a really short woman with really short fingers from Hawaii, and she always had like confidence in her typing speed. And since I was a kid, she would say, "Oh, I can type 120 words a minute," to where there were kids. And so as a kid, I want to meet my mom someday. So I was in typing class, like you, mandatory. But
How old were you?
I was 12 years old. I had a dream to beat my mother in typing. So by the age of 15, I typed 120 words a minute. It was embarrassing because my teacher hugged me and everything. I was very shy. And I went back to my home and I told my mom, "I can type 120 words just like you, Mom." My mom laughed and said, "I can actually only type 80 words a minute."
So yeah, I would like you to ask John a question or two.
So I guess you may have asked this, but so what do you miss anything from academia?
Nothing.
But you wrote quite a few, what, 2 decades?
Yeah, I spent 13 years at MIT as a professor, and then I spent 6 years running RISD. It's more, because I took it on when the financial crisis happened. So I had as chief executive really fix the business. So it was much more, it was not about teaching, it was about the business of the thing, which I really enjoyed because I hadn't had to do that at MIT a lot at all, basically. And I think that being at MIT, I'll never forget how, in the 90s, it was the best place to be around. In the 90s, like being in academia was great for computing because nobody had computers. I mean, nobody had computers. It was like ridiculous to have a computer. But then around the year 2001, something happened. What happened is that in the 1990s, you could always get people to come to lab because at lab we had the best computers. But in the year 2001, the students would not come to the lab anymore because they brought better computers to their dormitory rooms. Because Moore's Law had jumped over the advantage we had in computing labs. So after that, I was like, I'll finish. Academia gone. If you're a history major or whatever, academia is a great place because history tends not to change that much. So it's a good place to be.
There was a question about the future 20 years from now, but it really repeats itself, the history repeats itself. Yeah. What are things that you are thinking about in the context of design of AI that excite you?
So I get excited by strange things, so it's not exciting in the way that maybe you mean it, but you tie this to a response to John's view of academia. So I got very disillusioned with Silicon Valley because I think for-profit companies are going to end up being driven by short-term returns. And even like when I was involved in early days with Twitter, I mean, we really thought we were going to try to save the world. And I thought when we connected the internet to the world, we would have world peace. You know? And so I think there is a category of thing that works well in business, which is when you want to execute at scale. But if you want to do long-term research, or if you really want to do something that's socially beneficial, I mean, there's not-profit companies and stuff like that, but there's certain stuff that I think is very important to do in a non-commercial environment. And I do think that there's a lot that's broken about education, but I think that research university labs, if they're well designed, one of the things that I'm very concerned about is that we're so anxious to deploy AI, and the companies are so anxious to get past this question about fairness that they're reducing it, trying to reduce it to a formal definition that takes just a check mark, kind of like an audit. But fairness is really complex, and you have to bring historians in. There was actually, literally 50 years ago, in the insurance industry, there was a fight about whether everyone should be insured equally by the government, or whether insurance should be a for-profit business where the premium is based on a calculation of your personal risk. This is called social fairness versus actuarial fairness. And the actuarial fairness people, fueled by the private insurance companies, basically won the argument. And so that's why insurance sucks if you're a woman, sucks if you're black, sucks if you have all pre-existing conditions, and we lost this idea called the principle of solidarity. Right now, I think there's a risk right now with AI and ethics that the companies want to just get on with it because they want to make money, they want to deploy, and we're oversimplifying some of the social issues. And those social issues right now at MIT and other places, we have the social scientists, we have the philosophers, we have professors who care about it and having this discussion. Literally right now, across the street, somewhere around here, there's a partnership in AI, which is a bunch of the big companies trying to get together to work on sort of self-regulation. But I'm skeptical of commercial self-regulation. I think that you do need people who aren't in the companies thinking about these things. And I think that's something that I'm excited about because I think it actually is a function that academia is helpful for.
So if it's not
very clear, I vote for academia with Joi Ito in it.
So just to think just a tangential on that one. So if it's not commercial regulation, what kind of regulation are you talking about?
Well, so there's already a lot of laws being passed. We have the GDPR, which is perhaps a bill in Europe. We have, for instance, in New York, we see in the city, we see citizens looking at transparency and accountability. There's just about to be a state law being passed in California, which is like a privacy. And a lot of those come from privacy, but they hit AI right in the middle. And then there's others, which is like ACLU, but we work very closely with ACLU, that audits from the outside. One of the things that we're working on is criminal justice. And so it turns out that all the AI is pointed at poor people, so we can predict when they're going to commit a crime, for predictive policing and all this. We don't have any data on courts. Actually, a lot of judges don't follow the law. They don't follow guidelines, and they don't have any data on the courts. So there's a thing called Court Watch, where a bunch of people go into the courts and take a log of everything that's going on, and then they come to MIT, and then we do a data entry-a-thon, and we create these big databases about what's going on in courts to hold judges accountable. But people don't do that because there's no money in it, but you have to do it.
But you know, I don't know how accurate this study is, but I read a study that surveyed all the judgments that were passed by judges. Do you know what time of the day the judges pass the harshest punishment? Before lunch. So there's that kind of bias, unconscious bias, that needs to be influenced by that situation. What are the things that excite you these days, John?
I love listening to Joey. It's kind of a mixture of the social thing and the industry thing, and it's always good. I mean, I don't mean it. So thank goodness. I'm not as smart, so I'm like the Tora-san of this world. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying things out. I'm curious. You know, that's all I got.
All right, with the last few minutes left, I'd like to open up. It's really rare that we have Joi and Joi on stage together. Have you been on stage together before?
Oh, it's first time.
First time?
I don't know, I'm PopTech.
Wait,
Did you think with me at PopTech?
I don't know. I invited you to talk, but never had to sit here with you. Okay.
All right, so this is the first time that we see the two legends of the industry. Ask questions. What questions would you like to ask? And by the way, while we're waiting for hands to raise, one thing that you haven't seen is that I want you to ask a yes or no question to the audience. So you've done it. So you ask that question, and then think about a yes or no question that you want to ask the audience. But while we're thinking about it, so we have a hand up here. Can we get a microphone, please?
Joi, welcome back. I remember your talk from last year, and I think you made a wonderful and vaguely controversial statement that I think either neuroscientists and public relations executives will rule in the world.
I said that your gut bacteria and advertising agencies control you.
You see what happens? Let's go to your gut bacteria and advertising agencies. So I actually love to throw this open to the panel. I think the person to my left or right is involved in the advertising industry. So when you're involved, I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts on that. And put Ray slightly also on the speaker to answer whether you feel that advertising agencies and your gut are controlling the world.
Do you want to go first?
Well, I believe that's true. But it doesn't control the world, it controls you.
Influences.
It controls you.
So just, I used to be in the advertising industry for a long time. I left about 3 years ago. I started my own company that is still within the context of, I guess, marketing and advertising, but that's not what we do. Precisely because I think it may have been true, for a long time that advertising was a very influential thing and controlling thing. And I just don't believe in it anymore. I never believed in it. I never got into that industry. Because I was always, I wanted to be John Maeda, right? Yeah, I wanted to be John Maeda, and what I was doing got sort of consumed by that advertising industry. And for the past 15 years, I always denied that I was in advertising.
Yeah. I had this, remember Kristen Porter Boguski?
Yeah.
Alex Boguski?
Yeah.
There was an advertising famous world where there was an advertising executive who melted down and wrote an entire book about why Burger King is bad, but that was the biggest client of the company. So he was fired. So anyways, it was a year later, I was at something and we were on a panel together, and then he was detoxing from advertising.
Yeah.
He says, I was in Italy and I was in Milan, it was amazing. And I walked into Duomo Cathedral and I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best advertising stunt for God. Cathedral. Anyway, so it's an old technique,
Wow. Yeah. But the question about the gut, what was that the question?
Yeah, I was hoping Joey would be willing to elaborate on last year's theory. I figured in 12 months you had to make some progress, Joey.
I think there's just more evidence. I think that there is a ton of evidence that the gut, that our behavior, for instance, wanting chocolate is probably because there are bacteria in our gut that use chocolate, metabolize it into something that's useful, but that our desires are highly controlled by the things that our gut needs to have. And there's in mother's milk, there are nutrients that we can't metabolize, but our gut bacteria need, so that it's there. So that's our gut, and it affects our thinking and our desires, and we affect the gut. And then the advertising agencies are the ones who hack desires. So you watch things and so the two things. I think what you want is what controls you. And at some level, philosophically, you're trying to control what you want to want. But what actually controls what you want is probably a combination of your gut flora and I say advertising agencies, but people who are subjecting you to subconscious influences. And again, this is obviously joking, but in a sense, the influence, the things that influence your desires are the things that drive you more than the logic that runs in your brain telling you to go to the gym or not eat the Oreos that you're going to eat anyway because your gut tells you.
It's very meta to listen to hear you talk about very philosophical things and watch John contemplate.
So Ray, what industry are you in? If you're not in the business of governing my desires.
Design data technology industry, that's right. Okay. Yeah. One more question, and then we're going to turn the table. And yes, so over to my left to stay right. Yeah.
I'd like to ask a question about what Joey talked about, which is about the universal principles of fairness. And I wanted to ask about, is it even possible for us to come to a conclusion or come to a place where there are universal principles of fairness, given that even the human rights took a long time to be ratified by all the countries? Is it possible for
Yeah, I don't think it's possible because our notion of fairness changes every day, right? So when America was established, all men were created equal, but not women or black people. And currently, when we talk about humanity, we don't really know what we think about rights. We don't really know whether what we think about non-humans. We were just finding out recently that animals have a lot of emotions. And in some animals can actually beat, chimpanzees can beat humans in certain types of strategy games. And so there's a lot of like very self-centeredness in what we think is, we're fair to the things that we identify with. And so I think fairness changes, and I think that the technology has to always strive for maximum fairness. But fairness is an ideal, it's not something you can get to. And then there's also just fundamental social unfairness. So the average household income of a non-immigrant African-American family in Boston is $8, and for white people it's $247,500. And so when you have a starting state that's unfair, well, what's fair? Is it the accuracy of the predictive policing has to be fair, or should it be a fairness of outcome or a fairness of opportunity? And as a community, how do we decide what the algorithms should be optimizing for? So I think fairness is just an idea it's great to shoot for, but I think it's an iterative process that has to involve all of us as we change. And as we use technology, that affects our notions of fairness as well. Because, for instance, with robots, when we start to play with robots, we start to project certain feelings into robots, and there is a whole robot rights movement now. And so what do we think about that? And so I think it will be a constant evolution. And so that's my point of just, I don't think that you should ever be able to call something fair. I think you can have a desire for fairness.
There's a great book by John W. Gardner called Excellence. And it's really only on paperback, but it's about excellence, and he frames the problem as, in the United States, we believe in equality, but we all also love excellence. And it's kind of a paradox to want to have equality and excellence at the same time. And he talks about this from a historical perspective. It's useful to read. It really changed my thinking about this topic.
I'm being aggressively told that we have to cut, but I do want to do the reactor meter. So I'm going to, so if any question that you want to ask the audience, it just needs to be a yes or no question. Yeah, so if you can bring up the reactor meter on screen, and what they will do is that with the mobile device, they'll just vote yes or no. Yeah, so ask a question to the audience, please.
So is machine learning algorithms and AI going to make us happier?
Similar question that we had. So, please, is AI going to make us happier? There you go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and stop. So 66%, 2/3 think that AI will make us happier, and 1/3 will think that it will make us unhappy. What do you think, George?
I'm not sure. I think we have to fight really hard if we're going to make us happier.
Yeah.
And so I would be So I think it's not. It's like I remember when I was working on the internet, I thought it would just connect everybody and we would be happy. And now it's like that movie, The Exorcist. The girl from The Exorcist. That's what it feels like now, because we didn't pay attention to building it the right way.
Right, with that, actually, I have one personal favor. I'm going to take a selfie with the entire audience with Joy and John next to me.
That's great.
All right. Audience. Joy, where? John, here. All right, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.